Number 1 wants you to give the x and y intercepts and then sketch the graph of the line. X and y intercepts are just zeroing out the other one, all right? So if I want to find the x-intercept, I zero out the y, which means I just have, and if I zero out y, I just have 2x equals 4, x equals 2. That is my x-intercept. So on the x-axis, I'm going to go to 2. Y-intercept means I zero out the x, which leaves me just y equals 4. So on the y-axis, I go to 4. And then to graph the line, I'm just going to connect those dots. So I'm going to go from the 4, it'll let me do it, from the 4 down to the 2. And that is my line. So this is kind of easy because you're just going to give me how far you move down or up and how far you move right or left. So remember the top number is up or down. So we're going to start at this point, and how far did we move, and did we move up or down? Down, how many? 1. So my top number is going to be -1. And then the bottom number is how far we moved left and right. So from this point right here, which way do I go? Right. How many spaces? 1. So my bottom number is +1. And then just reduce it if you can. -1 over +1 equals -1, and that is my slope. So it's just a matter of walking. Now this is actually a formula, right? Subtract your y's, subtract your x's. So you say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and just label it x1, y1, x2, y2, and then just plug it in. y2 is -7 minus y1 is -18. x1 is +17 minus x1 is 18. -7 minus a -18 is +11. And 17 minus 18 is -1. 11 divided by -1 is -11. Write it in slope-intercept form first. You have to remember what slope-intercept form is. It's y equals mx plus b. M is your slope. B is your y-intercept. All right. They gave you your slope and they gave you your y-intercept. So you literally just write it. Like, you don't overthink this. You're going to say y equals m. M is 1/4. X plus b, -4. And you can write it without the plus a negative. You can just say y equals 1/4 x minus 4. The next one actually wants the same exact thing, but they gave you difference. So they didn't give you m. So here you have m and b. You have m and you have b. They gave you m, they gave you b. All right? Here they gave you m, right? But they didn't give you b. They actually gave you x and y. So we still can figure it out, right? So now we have the x. Actually, we'll write it with actual thickness there. We have the x, the y, and the m in our y equals mx plus b. So we'll just write it out. Y, that's -1, equals m, that's -3. X, that's +2, plus b. Like, they gave us all but one variable, right? So then we're just gonna solve. -3 times 2 is -6. Add your 6 over. So b is 5. They're not asking for b, they're asking for y equals mx plus b. So you need to plug in your m, which they gave you, and plug in your b, which you solved for. So your answer is going to be y equals m, that's -3, x plus b, which is 5. So this is my final answer right here. I gave it to you in the form y equals mx plus b. always start with your B, all right? So we're gonna start at this guy right here, positive 3 on my y-axis. That's where I'm gonna put my first point. Positive 3 on my y-axis, all right? And then they told me what the slope was. My slope is negative 3 over 2. Only one of your movements is negative. So I'll just say negative 3 over 2. We'll do it that way first. Remember, the top number tells you up and down. So it's a negative 3, which means I'm going to start here and go 1, 2, 3. The bottom number is left or right. It's a positive 2, which means I'm going right 1, 2. That drops me right here at this point. All right, and so that's where my second point is going to be. If I had done it the other way, let's say I did a positive 3 over negative 2. Remember, only one movement is negative. Then my positive 3 would take me up 1, 2, 3. My negative 2 would take me left 1, 2, and it would put me right there. But what you'll notice is those are all on the same line. When I connect my dots, which is what you're going to do to graph it, that is your line. So you can do it either way. You don't have to do it both ways, but either way, one movement is negative when your slope is negative. If your slope was positive, then both of your movements would be positive. But when it's negative, only one is negative. So we are still going to use y equals mx plus b. All right. For this one, they gave us an x. They gave us a y. And if it is parallel, they actually gave us our m. Right? If it's parallel, it's the same slope. I do not need this guy at all. He's irrelevant. The rest of that equation is irrelevant. I only need my slope. And then I'm going to plug it in. Y, negative 2, equals m. That's 3/2. Times x. That's 2. Plus b. Remember, 2 is over 1, right? 2 is over 1. You can cross cancel here. So 3/2 times 2 is just 3. So negative 2 equals 3 plus b. Subtract 3. B is negative 5. Your answer should always be in this format over here. So y equals m. That was 3/2. X. I solved for b, which is negative 5. Perpendicular is the same thing. You just flip and negate it. So for 18, they gave us x. They gave us y. We are going to take this negative 1 over 9. We are going to flip it and change the sign. So it goes from negative to positive, and it goes from 1 over to 9 to just 9. All right, and do the same thing with it. All right, so graphing is identical to what we just did, except we're going to shade it this time. The reason you know you're going to shade it is because of that greater than less than sign. That's right there. So you're still going to start at your B, which is right here. Negative 5 on the y-axis puts me right down here. All right. And then my slope. My slope is 1 over 2, which tells me 1 over 2 means that I'm going to go up 1 and to the right 1, 2. So it's going to put me right here. And so my second point is going to go right here. And then I'm going to connect my dots just like I did before. The difference is I am going to look at this sign right here. So I have greater than or equal to. All right, so if you look at this, we're going to draw our line, and it's going to be a solid line because of the or equal to. All right, so we're going to make it solid because it's or equal to. So we have that. And then the greater than tells us we're going to shade above that line. So because it's the greater than sign, we're going to shade up here. If it were less than, we would shade below it. Okay? So we're going to graph them individually. I'm going to start with the first line here. this one right here. This one right here. And I'm going to start on my y at -2, which is right here. I'm going to go up 5 and to the right 2. And so this is my first line that I'm going to graph right there. Then I'm going to graph my second line. I'm going to start at +4. It's a negative slope, so I'm going to go down 1 and over 2. And then I'm going to graph those 2 points with a line. And where those lines cross is your answer. And you can see that those lines cross right here at the point 2, 3. So the point 2, 3 is your answer. Substitution, solving by substitution. You do have to have one variable all by itself. You'll notice you already do. So you're going to take this right here and plug it in for that variable. So I'm going to rewrite the second equation, and I'm going to say -4x minus 2, and instead of y, I'm going to write 8x minus 5. So -4x minus 2y equals 10. And then I'm just going to solve. All right, I'm just going to solve at this point. So I'm going to distribute this -2 first. -4x, -2 times +8x is -16x. -2 times -5 is +10 equals 10. Combine your like terms. -4 and -16 is -20x. Plus 10 equals 10. Subtract my whole number over. -20x equals 0, so x is going to equal 0. So I've solved for part of it. I've solved for my x piece of it. To get my y, just go back and plug it back in. Y equals 8 times x. We said x was 0. Minus 5. So y equals -5. So my y value is -5. And that is my answer. All right, so if you notice 29 and 30, when you add down, something automatically cancels. Here, something doesn't automatically cancel, but one is easier to cancel. Which variable is easiest to cancel here? The x or the y? X, because I have a -20 and a +10. So I can just multiply this bottom group by 2, right? And so I'll leave the top one alone, -20x plus 8y equals 20. Leave that guy alone. And then multiply everything on the bottom one by 2. 2 times 10x is 20x. 2 times -6y is -12y. And 2 times 0 is 0. And then I can just add all the way down. -20x and +20x eliminate. That's my goal, elimination. +8 and -12 is -4. Why? 20 plus 0 is just 20. Divide by -4, so y equals what? -5. All right, so I have part of it. I have my y. Once you have a y, just plug it back in to get x. You can use either one. I'm going to use the second equation here. So 10 times x minus 6 times my -5 equals 0. 10x, -6 and -5 give me +30. All right, subtract my 30 over. 10x equals -30. So x equals what? -3. So my answer here is going to be -3x, -5 for my y. I subtracted the 30 over. Say Shariah and Heather are selling wrapping paper for a school fundraiser. Customer can buy rolls of plain wrapping paper and rolls of holiday wrapping paper. They just gave us our 2 things, right? So they gave us our 2 things were plain wrapping paper and holiday wrapping paper, okay? Shariah sold 6 rolls of plain and 11 rolls of holiday. So we're going to assign a variable to these guys. We're going to say that X is my plain and that Y is my holiday. All right. She sold 6 plain, 6X. She sold 11 holiday, 11Y. And her total money she got was $201. Okay. Heather sold 11 of plain, 11X, and 2 rolls of holiday, equals 96. I top by 2 and bottom by 11, I guess. All right. So because they gave us numbers that don't line up, like if it had been 11, 11, I could just negate one of them, but of course not. Cruel and unusual punishment here. So I'm going to cancel out my Y's. I multiply this by 2 and this guy by negative 11. So 2 and 6 are 12. 2 and 11 are 22. 2 and 2 are 1, 402. Negative 11 and positive 11, negative 1, 21. Negative 11 and positive 2, negative 22. Negative 11 and 96 are 960, 10, 56. Oh, that's a negative there. Yeah, that's why I said it was hideous. All right, these cancel.
It's such like an eyesore for some reason to stare at. Not just because of the big numbers, but
Math is fun.
I will never give you numbers this big on an exam. Please know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't want you to spend your time doing multiplication.
Was this made by another teacher?
Plug it back in, by the way, to get your Y. So like 11 times 6 plus 2 times Y equals 96. 66 plus 2Y equals 96. Subtract 2Y equals 30. Y equals 15. So 6 plain, 15 holiday. So graph the first one right here. Start at negative 1. Go up 7 and over 5. Up 7 and over 5. Yeah, it's the same thing. But now for this one, it is only less than. So remember, it's dashed.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, if it doesn't have the or equal to, you dash it. And then it is less than, so you shade below it. So you're going to shade down here. And then we're going to do the second one. Start at positive 7. Go down 1 and over 5. And this is a solid line because it is or equal to. And this is also less than, so you shade below that one. And then where they cross is your answer. So your answer is this wedge right here. Your answer is this wedge.